For the most part, the finance major at my school is just a fraud. Nothing on the surface was as it seemed, and I came to this realization after watching the HBO show The Industry with my cousin last night that degeneracy was a common theme in my department. Him and we actually went to the same school, and we have the same major. Only difference is that he actually works in the industry as a venture capitalist, I believe, and the industry is an actually ridiculous show. My cousin was like, this show does not portray the world of finance correctly at all. And, doing hard drugs on the job and having sex with clients, it's actually like asinine. Like, it's unfathomable what we were watching on the screen. And as we're watching this one episode, there's this guy, he's a managing director for a group on the trading floor, and he portrays the cutthroat trader that makes the absolute degenerate plays. Like, he's the Wall Street bets type of guy. Except he actually has power. He has an esteemed position. And on the surface, this guy is showing that he is an invaluable asset to the team and that he has his shit together. But the episode reveals that he's an actual piece of shit. He gambles all his money he earns from his esteemed position, leaves his wife and child to go gamble in the casinos, and actively pays these camstream girls. Like, this dude is a complete degenerate gooner. This dude opens up his account and he has like negative 150,000 pounds, which is like around 200,000 US dollars. And I bring up this insane example to say that no matter how people may look or seem on the outside, there's always something going on within that nobody knows about. And in my case, I know all too well what went behind the closed doors within the finance department at my university. So the thing with my university is that it was very lax in the education department, but it excelled at getting guys through the door and preparing them for shit that actually mattered, which to a degree I kind of respect. But what this did was it put a huge emphasis on grind culture at my school. And if you aren't going to a club, organization, career fair, or like every school event, you felt like a failure. And being low key and behind the scenes was not really respected at my school. And I knew a lot of talented guys that were behind the scenes and felt the same way I did. Our school was a private all boys school, so there was more attention on the individuals. And if you weren't performing, or at least performative, you looked like you didn't belong. And while there were tryhards at my school, like they actually locked in on top of their shit, as pretentious as they may seem, they were still performing as they seemed. There were actually a lot of guys who were just putting on a show and, were seeming that they were trying to fit the grind culture mold that was infecting my school. These performative dudes, they would show up to school and wear suits just for the fun of it, like in sometimes 80-degree weather, in Atlanta, walking around like they had business to attend to. But in reality, these guys were going straight to their 11 a.m. class just to lose $400 on zero DTE options under their desks. But that's the thing about the finance mask. If you wear it long enough, people start to care more about how that mask looks than what's actually behind it. At my school, as long as you looked the part, you had the right offer letter waiting for you, the actual education part became optional. Which brings me to the day I realized the system wasn't just lax. It was completely fraudulent. I was sitting in one of our core finance exams, 30% of our final grade. Let that percent sink in. 30%. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of stakes, a lot of pressure on the line. People needed their degrees. The teacher made us put our phones in our buckets, and I couldn't help but feeling like I was in middle school again. Like, it's that bad now where we have to be worried about cheating and AI in the classroom. It's just gotten really out of hand nowadays. But I look over to the front of me and I immediately understood why our teacher was so paranoid. Bro has ChatGPT out writing paragraphs during this exam, face under the desk and everything. Mind you, this is one of our professors that actually cares about her curriculum, so best believe she was watching us like a hawk through the entire exam. She was a little nerfed though, because she was kind of pregnant and couldn't walk much, but I heard stories of this chick when she was in her prime, and that horror came true. She looked bro dead in the eye, gets up, and crumples his paper, throws it in the garbage, and tells him that he has failed the class. And this guy I speak of, I was well acquainted with him. Like, we had a couple conversations that were cool. But the one thing I knew for sure is that he had a job offer after college that was dependent on him getting his degree. And This class was mandatory in order to gain that finance degree. I was like, oh shit, this dude is actually cooked. The look on his face, it was equivalent to that, like, that depressed meme guy face. Like, he lost all soul in his eyes. And he was pleading the teacher for a second chance, to no avail. Cut to 3 weeks later, this dude is in a cap and gown with the biggest grin on his face, and never in my academia have I ever seen something as shady transpired as this. And I'm not trying to throw any negativity onto Brody, because me and him were kind of cool. But this was a level of degeneracy that I just wasn't ready for. And I'm not going to say that I'm a saint in the education department, like in high school and in some parts college. I have made my fair share of mistakes, of degenerate decisions. But I was just very shocked that the department, let alone the teacher, let something like this slide. And it was for no reason but to keep up appearances and to promote the prestige that my school is promoting. You know, schools are not ranked by proper education. They're ranked by post-grad employment rates. And I know for a fact that this school had to keep some kind of quota because the teacher was not let it slide. She was very passionate about what she taught. And I believe that was probably her last year. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reason. It might have been for other complications, but I'm pretty sure that was probably the reason. If she were to fail this guy, who did everything right in terms of success men in our school, you know, he has a job offer, he is going to an esteemed position. If they failed him, their success rate would drop and their ranking dips. And that is something that my school prides itself in heavily in its ranking within its, you know, specific parameters. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to put my school on blast. But yeah, it makes me think that he wasn't the only one. And I'm not here to diss my school or the people that were honestly able to finesse the system. I wanted to bring this up for the fact that for so long in college, I had an imposter syndrome. I felt that I chose to exclude myself from the grind mentality, that I was limiting what I could be, and that I didn't belong amongst my peers. But the reality was that none of these guys who were performative knew what they were doing either. And that's the reality no one tells you about the prestige of finance. It creates a vacuum where authenticity is a weakness and performance is the only currency. When the institution cares more about its ranking rather than its integrity, it stops being a school and starts being a factory for the kind of degeneracy I saw in the industry, the show I was talking about earlier. So if you're sitting there at 21 or 22 feeling like a failure because you aren't grinding like the guys in the suits, just remember that half the people winning are just one desk check away from being exposed. These guys, they can't even work Excel, let alone culminate their own thoughts with an AI spoon feeding them ideas. And, you know, I kind of dissed them right there, and I was trying not to diss the people who were able to finesse the system. I really do love everyone that I graduated with. They were all cool people. But I'm just bringing this up to tell you that anything is possible, even if you don't know what you're doing. You just have to finesse your way through the system. But yeah, that's all I got for today. We're on a roll, so this is video 2. If you hung around this long, I appreciate you. And yeah, have a great day.